All Blacks for just the second time in the 118-year history of this storied rivalry.
This is just simply phenomenal.
Lakai is there, and Peter Lakai scores!
We knew it was going to be physical, and it certainly is.
It's been ripped away by Roigard! Oh, what a brilliant try by Cameron Roigard!
Absolutely massive.
Flying! Oh, what a try! The little French winger!
France did it brilliantly. What a turnover.
Oh, it's been dropped in midfield by Rico Ioane. France win it 30-29.
Tēnā koutou katoa, good evening, welcome into the breakdown. Well, a fourth loss in 2024 for the All Blacks, but it was a cracking test match, so does it make the loss acceptable? Are there too many voices part of the officials group at the moment? 5 officials controlling a rugby match and 2 TMOs. We're going to talk about it and what to do with Warren Gatland and Wales. That is all coming up on the breakdown today with the usual suspects, Jeff Wilson, Mills Muliaina and Stephen Bates. You've been in a lot lately, Bates, so you must be doing something right.
Yeah, or something wrong, one of the two. I'm here anyway.
It works on the show.
It works. Either way, it works here. No issues.
It's a Sunday, so the staple, the breakdown, is here to entertain you and to discuss all the biggest issues in rugby right now. But first, let's talk about the French. Are they the best at hosting rugby matches or what, Mills? At some stage, I felt like we were in a Netflix film.
I thought I was at a concert as well. When the lights went off and the way they were going about it. But this is how fantastic. I mean, the haka in itself, darkness, but the two teams lit up. And
Listen to
man,
this.
Respect for the game. Respect for the two teams. They put on a show. We saw they were able to host probably, arguably, one of the best Rugby World Cups. They did that last year. Batesy, for me, I thought it was a special occasion. You get the sense that the relationship between these two teams and the relationship between the fans and the players, everything to the drama, the build-up, I think it was the perfect stage for what was an outstanding test.
This is magnificent. I think this is so good. With just the two teams lit up and then the cell phones or whatever they are in the background, that's so good. But then even after the game, like a good 15, 20 minutes after the game, they were still all there. They won, probably the reason why they were still there, but they're still in the crowd and shouting and cheering. It would have been awesome to be there.
At the World Cup, Mills, you used to go out and join them, didn't you?
Oh, hey, there's no way, hey. But the thing is, what I love the most about that, if you knew nothing about rugby and you tuned into that early sort of 3 or so minutes of that game, you would be going, man, I wouldn't mind following this game. And that was the great thing about it.
And just on that, Millsy, like there's a lot of people that go to rugby games that are not necessarily, they need more than just the rugby these days. So that +1 experience, mate, that's about a +6 they've put on there. It's outstanding, you know.
I'm pretty sure all those fans knew rugby. They know the occasion, the respect for playing the All Blacks. I think it lived up to the hype. And now the All Blacks are asking themselves questions once again, Kirsty, of how do we find a way to beat them?
Well, I would have asked
Paris?
you a question. It wasn't a win for the All Blacks. 4 losses, 9 wins, so we're getting closer to the number that Mills picked out at the start of the year. Do you accept that loss today? Because it was a tight test match and you were entertained.
You're either a glass half full or a glass half empty. And at the moment, I'm full.
Okay.
I need another look at the game once again, but in terms of how I felt afterwards, a great test match where we created opportunities, but we weren't quite accurate enough again in a couple of big moments to come away with a win. But we did so many good things and exposed so much young talent to another challenge that I get the sense, once again, Batesy, we're continuing to head in the right direction as younger guys get this challenge behind them.
Young talent, yes, 100%, but also, like, guys, it was really encouraging to see guys like Artie Severe play so well today. He was outstanding. But I do agree with you, and I think it could easily, if we took a couple of chances, because we created a lot. We created a lot, just didn't finish some of them. We finished a couple of those, and then it's a different story. But all in all, from my point of view, what an entertaining and what a wonderful spectacle for the game of rugby as a whole. As a neutral supporter, what a spectacle and a game of rugby.
Yeah, but you're not neutral supporters, are you? You are All Black supporters. They lost by 1 point, and at half-time, Mills, you have to say the All Blacks had France on the ropes. So was this a forgivable performance considering the position that they were in early on?
I mean, it sucks losing. We don't want to lose. Yeah, and the fact was, and you're right, it was a spectacle. Like the fact that both sides went out there and wanted to play, and some of the skill level was outstanding. They let them off the hook a little bit after the halftime break. When the French, they sort of regrouped, regathered, came back out, and then the momentum slowly started to sort of go their way. Yeah, OK, the All Blacks came back and there was an opportunity to actually win. But I still feel this All Black side we're almost there. I mean, you think about the young talent we've been able to expose, even up front, to Mighty Williams getting opportunities to keep going. I mean, you're building depth within the bench. It's little things, yeah, but once they click, and I think they are. When you ask the question, forgivable, I think I am. 9, I mean, they win one more, and it's a great season for me.
No, it's not a great season.
You've got 10.
No,
10
it's not a great
wins out of
season.
14.
It's not a great season. No,
Yeah.
I've got to stop you there. It's not a great season. It's now, on the back of that result, the best it can be is a good season. Because we've lost to Argentina, we've lost to France, South Africa twice, and they're the big guns. To me, there's only 5 top teams in the world right now in terms of form and the way they've played over the last few years. Clearly, the South Africa. Clearly, you've got to put Ireland in that conversation. You put France in that conversation. And I put Argentina, who were semi-finalists at a Rugby World Cup last year, and their ability to beat us this year. They beat Australia and they beat South Africa. So I look at there's 5 teams. They're the ones that I care about. We lost to Argentina. We lost to South Africa twice, and we've lost to France. So ultimately, for me, I think it's only a good season now. It can't be any better than that because we are going to beat Italy, and we should. We have to finish well. But for me, when you lose 4 test matches in a season for the All Blacks, that's a tough year.
So considering what you're just saying then, how do you think that we are in a better position than we were at the Rugby World Cup last year?
Because of what we've lost and who we've brought in and where they're tracking to and the potential we have in the group and how much better we've actually, and we have got better through the course of the season. That was a really good performance today. It was. France are a world-class side, Batesy, and I'm up for debate in this one, but for me, the more I dig down to it, I just know that we've got so much more to give and we're so close against the best team.
And that's what I mean. I think, yeah, OK, it's not a great season, but it's a pretty good
I got him to backtrack. I got him to backtrack in 2 minutes.
It's a pretty good season.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Not
think
a great one.
there's three of those five teams. I mean, we've even beat, Argentina. We've beaten those. But if you look at it from the bigger picture, I mean, we're building a quality side, and I said it this morning. I said it's almost reflective of the 2004 team. We didn't have a really great, Tri-Nations. We've had to build some guys around there, and look where we got to, 2011, 2015. You've got to start somewhere, and look where we've come, considering after that win against the loss against Argentina, we've come a heck of a long way. These are quality sides.
Come on, Batesy, where do you sit on this?
I think 2 things. I think the worrying sign is we've been beaten out of the blocks twice in the second half, 2 weeks in a row in big games. Yes, we were down to 14 men against Ireland, but they came and scored straight away after half-time and changed the game. We were good enough to wrestle the game back. We weren't good enough to wrestle the game back this week against them. And I think the proof will be, like, to what you're saying, Millsy, I think the proof will be in the pudding. The key thing is, I think you can handle 4 losses as long as there's genuine learning from that. How do we know that this team learns that next year we don't lose those 4 games by 1 point like today? We get over the top and we finish a couple of the opportunities. And that's where the real learning is. And if you can do that going forward, well, then you know that this year has been the building blocks to something.
Can I make a comparison? Yes. So when Ian Foster made those decisions around changing his assistant coaches, when Joe Schmidt and Jason Ryan came in, their record after that was 16-5-1. So 16 wins, 5 losses and 1 draw. That was their record right through to the end of the Rugby World Cup. So if you think about what's coming up for this group in their first 22 games, which is what they had, they're going to probably finish the season at 10-4. So you've got to go really well in your first 8 test matches, your next 8 test matches, to match what the previous coaches managed to achieve. And that was to get to a Rugby World Cup final.
Is it fair to say that, like, with the young group that they've brought in now, the All Blacks, that there's always going to be teething problems, and we will accept that because they've got a new breed coming through, and we don't need to talk about the players we've lost.
But wins and losses, when it comes to the All Blacks, that's what people expect, is the winning record to be strong and for us to win big games, Mills.
Yeah, well, we need to, but we've got to start somewhere. I mean, that's a heck of a lot of guys to. I mean, what would you say? Okay, next year if they lose another Test match, we look for another coach.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think you have to be fair.
But you've got to have an overall perspective about where we're heading, and I think we are in a good place. I mean, the guys will be able to exposed to that and get test matches under their belt in key positions. That's pretty decent considering where we've actually come from. And you've got to think of the cattle that are coming in behind them, NPC. Like, a lot of talk after their loss against Argentina and against South Africa is we've lost it. I don't see that in this team.
Well, let's take a look at the age of some of these squads then, because if you look at the 23 that took on a very good French side today, as you said, Jeff, the average age of this team, 24 and 47 test caps per player. Now, obviously, a few of the players like Beauden Barrett and Cody Taylor push those stats for test caps up. But look at the ages. This team is relatively young, isn't it, Jeff?
It is young, and it's young in some key positions in terms of experience.
And they've stepped up.
But in saying that, though, we've unearthed players, and when we get to this level, we expect them to be prepared to play this. Now, there's an element of learning, and for some of the guys, and we've got a couple of world players in the year there, so we've got a whole lot of experience in and around this group, which has helped these young guys go out and perform. But other teams have had to go through the same process. Other teams have had to introduce new guys into their squad. So it's that sort of playing field happens after a Rugby World Cup. Guys disappear and come back in. So I love where we're at. I agree with you. But it's what's the next step? And how do you now view this season? Based on some of those exposures to young guys, it's great.
I suppose for me, when you do lose, and those four are pretty big losses, right? You've got to look at it because you don't want them to become a habit that you lost, they came far out. I don't see that as this team. Like today, they lost by 1 point, but they are hurting. You can tell by some of the comments they've already made. There could have been an opportunity to actually, to win the game, but I don't see that in this group, and I just think they. Bit more time, another year with the same coaching staff, the same environment, the same culture that they're driven. We're at a new stage. 3 years ago, I don't think we kind of had this build-up. I think we're in a really good place.
I'd also add, there's been plenty of chat today around Peter Lakai and Wallace Atiti over the last few weeks and stuff like that. But also think if you look at what we've built, you look at the two of our tight forwards, both 24 young for tight forwards, and Tamaiti Williams and Tupou Vai, who have been there. But you look at the growth and what they've come from sort of, and I hope this doesn't come as rude, bit part players to genuine starters and genuine performers. So in that I think there's been a progression in those guys as well, which is good to see.
For Tamaiti Williams, you'd have to say it's happened quite quickly. Tupou Vai's been in this environment since 2020 now, so he's been in for a while learning off some of the best, but Tamaiti hasn't been in for that long.
Yeah, he hasn't, but Tupou's always played second fiddle or sometimes fourth fiddle, you know what I mean? So he's certainly not one or two, but Tamaiti's been outstanding, really has. And I also think when we're talking about growth, as we see him absolutely pumping the French scrum, we talk about growth. I still don't believe we've seen the full arsenal of this guy. This guy can carry the ball like no other loose head prop in the world. I still believe there's massive growth in him.
When you look at these players who are 21, 22, 23, who's playing beyond their years, Jeff?
Look, when I looked at Cam Roygaard's game today, the fact he's played so little rugby in 2024, how composed he is, how accurate he is, his kicking game, his passing, he seems as though he's in complete control of his game.
Why did they take him off so early?
I think that's a question you might have. If he was still travelling well, or it looks as though he was travelling well. I think there's a number of things they'll look in this test match. I'm not sure we're trusting our reserves early enough in the game in regards to giving guys an opportunity, because I see Pasili Otosi go out there and he doesn't miss a beat either. Now, that's where credit has to go to coaching staff in terms of preparing these guys, having them in their environment for 4 or 5 months now, and they go out and they know their role. But I'd like to see them inject these guys. Asafa Amua was still, once again, very, very good. And I think in terms of impact, Peter Lakai was remarkable today. I mean, I think that if you look at the young guys, there isn't someone to me who hasn't delivered, Batesy.
Yeah, I'll just add one other thing to the superlatives you gave Roygaard, the competitiveness of him.
Yeah.
That try that he scored, there wasn't a huge amount of skill in that, but there was a hell of a lot of grit and a hell of a lot of effort in that, and just to be in around. And Lakai, this man here who played, 78 minutes or something like that, his post-contact meters were outstanding. They really were. So, great day for him.
One of the big talking points off the back of this test match has been around decision-making in the final 10 minutes. The All Blacks took a penalty kick, added 3 points with 5 minutes to play, which put them within 1 of France. Was it the right decision or not? The coach and captain both weigh in on it.
Yeah, I'm pleased, but test footy comes down to, as we know, all this year, just a little bit of a moment, and you know, we'd pride ourselves on how much work we'd had, game management, game understanding, our discipline to win those. Played a lot of footy, but you've got to execute and win those key moments, and we just didn't do enough tonight.
72nd minute, kick for the corner, kick for goal. Is that something they decided on the field?
Yeah, look, I'll talk to Scott a little bit more about it, but you know, it's his call.
Potentially could have gone to the corner upon reflection and, you know, gone for the win. But, yeah, I'll reflect on that and learn from that if that was the right decision. Potentially not, yeah.
So to me, it sounds like Scott Barrett is taking the blame, like he made the wrong decision. Did he or did he not make the right or wrong decision taking the points, team?
I'll jump in. Like, he made the wrong decision. But what I would say, it's only a wrong decision because we never got an opportunity to go back down into their half. Now, the thing about that is I've got hindsight now on my side, so it's very easy. So there's another way to look at it too, is that, and I remember sitting in the green room and thinking to myself, okay, there's been a lot of penalties in this game, so all they need to do after they kick this is take the kick off, kick it back down there. Some official, one of the 5 officials, is going to blow another penalty. Dave McKenzie's just kicked one from 40. We only need to get in there 40 to slot the goal. So, you know what I mean? So I think it's harsh on him. I think, you know, with the benefit of hindsight, it's an easy decision. But I can see where his thinking was at.
What would you have done, Mills?
I was exactly the same. I thought, go for the goal. You got to think, I mean, there's a lot happening at that time. We just had a neck roll, you know, down the other end. We've just come back now. They've earned themselves another penalty, you know, with about, 6 or so minutes to go, you know, after an illegal, clean out. And so there's 3 points. It's heavily in the balance. I, at the time, thought, yeah, go for the 3 points and then back yourselves to come back. France kicked long after that. So it surprised me. Obviously, the coaching staff felt that he needed to go to the line, but he made the decision pretty fast. And you would have thought, Goldie, if that was the case and the coaching staff wanted him to go for touch, which is obviously what Scott Robinson wanted to do, they would have got him the message to go to touch.
Well, this is a really difficult one because when you leave it in the hands of your captain, he's got to have a really good sense of where your team is at. He's got to have a really good feel for how you're feeling about, OK, we can get possession again. We can put the opposition under pressure. That's clearly what Scott Barrett felt. He felt we can bank this, we can take the kick off and we can get position on the field again. We never got that position again. And so if he'd gone to a line out or decided to take a scrum or whatever he might do and they don't score, then all of a sudden he looks as though he's made the wrong decision. But he's trying to work on at what time will he get in front? Will he get in front on the next time down, or I'm going to win the game now and then back our defence? So either way is fraught with danger. The beauty of hindsight, the thing for me is that if Scott Robertson genuinely wanted to have control of that moment, he has to put in a way to communicate with the players on the field. If he wants to look at it and go, you know what, I want us to go to the corner because I see something. We're going to win the game now. And this is the crazy thing about rugby. All of these other sports have coaches who make influential decisions. NFL, basketball, they've got timeouts and the benefit. What did South Africa do? Remember they went to the red light, yellow light, they got the flash things out. No, but Russie controlled the moment, right?
He did.
Maybe this is a time that I know Ardie Savea, when he's been captain in the All Blacks and he's got critical decisions, he has looked to the sideline for guidance to go, what do you think we do here? Should we have done that maybe? Should there be more forceful going, you know what, the tee's staying under my arm, guess what? Go to the corner.
We're going
to the corner.
I think I'd go a little bit back from that. I think in the maturity of the team possibly wasn't there. When he made that decision to say, OK, we're going to bank the points, what then was the plan? Because 9 times out of 10, teams are going to kick deep and try and pin you in that half. The French did, and they didn't get a good exit. They exited and ended up in the 40. And I think that's where they lost it a bit. I don't think by the time they got that penalty, they knocked it over. I'm not sure whether the team itself knew what the actual plan was to get down the other end of the field, whereas France did.
Yeah, I think we needed to go a contestable at least. The ball needed to stay in the field of play. We couldn't afford to go to a line-out and just go and give them an opportunity to control the speed of the game, Batesy.
Just one thing really quickly, like we spent the last 5 minutes talking about the growth of these players and the learning of these players. Well, isn't this a growth learning moment for captain and coach? So I know we don't like losing, but isn't it a good time that this has happened? So everyone's learning in this environment, you know, and those two have worked together, coach and captain in the Crusaders, but maybe this is a slightly different environment. So then another learning moment for this team.
I will say this. I would have preferred if Scott Robertson had just come out and backed Scott Barrett.
Yep.
I would have preferred him to have said that and said, I back my captain to make that decision on the field because he's entrusted him with the captain's armband for a reason. And Scott Barrett's been his captain at the Crusaders and had to make critical decisions in the past and done a fantastic job at it. So for me, I would have preferred, but clearly Scott Robertson had other ideas because he didn't say it. I would have preferred him to back his captain in this situation.
And if you don't back your captain and your players, that's when you start sending doubt into the minds of the fans that are watching. So Scott Barrett as captain, you don't expect him to step in and be brilliant like Richie McCaw instantly as a captain, do you? How long does it take to adapt to that position, Mills, at the international level? What are the things that he needs to be getting right as a captain?
Well, you establish a team around you. You know, that's the key. You've got to establish your key leadership group team around it, and he's got a good team there. They've got to get on the same page. But part of getting on the same page is also making sure the coaches are on the same page.
I think they were on the same page, the players. Yeah. Because Damien McKenzie's standing beside him, and he's looking towards the post.
He knows, yeah.
I just say on there, and saying that, like I heard Scott Barrett ask the referee a fantastic question during the game. So what the French were doing with their line-out is they were inserting a member, you know what I mean? And so he went to the referee and just said, hey, can you just explain to me? Because it feels like they're inserting someone and someone's meant to leave and that's not happening. Now, all he's doing there, it's a genuine question, but he's just putting a little bit of doubt in the referee's mind. So he's got experience and he does make really good decisions. And this one here that we're talking about, it can go either way. And I like your comment, Jeff. I just think he just got it back. He backed their ability and it didn't quite go their way. But on another day, it does go their way.
But is this a learning curve now for... Yes, he's had a great record in Super Rugby, Razor Robinson. But you've got to admit, he's had a lot of learning curves along the way in high-pressure stuff when it's come to the All Blacks, right? And some of that is possibly now, you know, backing your captain and also the way he's come out like that. Because it's not really the case when you're in a close environment, right? But perhaps for him also, he's got to learn he's actually reflecting too that this probably isn't sort of the pressure that he thought that would be under.
I've seen Scott Barrett do too many great things and work too hard in the All Black jersey not to back him.
Yeah.
He's the man. He was the guy who was selected to do the job. You've got to support him and stay with it, you know. And it just, to me, you know, I think that's really critical and an important part of making sure that you can take things on board.
OK, well, let's move on. And this one's for you, Batesy. You were like a puppy dog at Christmas this morning watching the set piece. Do the All Blacks have the best scrum in the world right now? Who has got the better of the All Black scrum in 2024?
Yeah, no. Don't people in South Africa watch this as well?
Yeah, they do, Batesy.
Yeah, OK, so I'm not going to say...
Hey, come on, be honest.
Do they have the
down the barrel?
Yeah, I don't... to be honest, I'm not sure we've got the best scrum in the world, but I think it's very, very dominant. And I think where it has come up big, it's come up big for us in crucial moments this year. It really has. And the only disappointing thing about today's scrummaging is we never got the opportunity, for whatever reason, to have our feed with the ball. Because if we got to feed a few scrums, I think we would have really seen some dominance. But I think the scrum has come along like their game has come along. It's got better and better as the season's gone on, and you've seen individuals grow. And we've already talked about a couple of front rowers that have grown with the team this year.
I'll say this: anytime we've come up against a squad that's had a slightly depleted squad in terms of their 4 props that they've had in their squad, we've done really well. When teams have been at full strength, and that's the Springboks, it's been a great contest and we've been in the fight. And I think it's a platform now that we can 100% rely on with the guys we've got there. And the fact we've still got an Ethan de Groot, if you're talking about a scrummaging prop,
What
in
do
the
you do
wings,
with Ethan de Groot?
he has to wait till his turn until he gets another opportunity. Now, he'll probably get it next weekend against Italy. You want to see fire and brimstone. You want to see him not doing it on his own, doing it collectively, but going out there and putting on a performance. Just reminding them, you know what? Yep, I made a mistake. I have paid for it, but this is what I'm capable of.
Can I say one thing really quickly? I know we're talking about scrums here, but can I just give the All Blacks line-out D a pat on the back? It's been outstanding the last 3 weeks. It really has, and suffocated the French in the first half today as well.
You don't have to take your time, Batesy. You have as much time on the show as you possibly would like. As you know, the South Africans are watching, so are the rest of New Zealand and many others around the world as well. Stay with us here on The Breakdown. When we come back, we talk about what is happening with rugby in the Northern Hemisphere. A couple of coaches, well, they are under the pump right now, Borthwick and Gatland. Hoki mai anō, welcome back to The Breakdown. Well, the Northern Hemisphere sides have not been overly convincing in the first couple of weeks of the autumn series, and it has been noticed. Ireland barely getting over Argentina a couple of days ago. England going down for a third straight week to a Southern Hemisphere side. First the All Blacks, then the Wallabies, and now to South Africa as well. What is this saying about the differences between the two competitions?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we've talked a lot about England because we've played them a lot this year, and both you and I, Mills, we think they've got a lot of potential. Yeah. We see a lot of things we really like in what they're doing, but they don't quite have the depth, and they're probably where we were about 3 months ago, where we were worried about finishing games. And so all of a sudden their coach should be under pressure, but he's got a long-term deal, and they've invested heavily in Steve Borthwick, so it's a matter of whether or not they ride that out, which I think they will, but at some point you need to see the tide turn. And it's not against Japan this weekend. Yeah. Like I said about those big games, they had a good win against Ireland in the Six Nations at the back end of it. But for me, he's not the guy that's really under pressure. It's the guy that's coaching Wales and Warren Gatland.
Well, yes, 10th straight loss for them against Fiji, which has just been labelled unacceptable by so many scribes and former players over there in Wales. If you take a look at this tweet, Mike Phillip, former Welsh halfback, had this to say. There's a lot of positives. Yeah, you're on $600,000 a year and you don't even have to win. How the Welsh Rugby Union bring this guy back is just nuts. Laughing all the way to the bank.
Did he drop Mike Phillips? Did he? I'm not
sure. I
could
just see it now, like Mike Phillips is going when he got dropped from the Lions team. No, I can't wait till the day I can come back and tweet something. Hey?
Here is my chance. But does he have a point though? They've lost 10 straight, a record equalling 10 straight, potentially another one overnight against the Wallabies as well. What do they do?
Well, they're losing before Gets got there too. I think that's the other side of it. They need to probably look further than just the national side. I mean, they sacked a coach before then, Wayne Pivac, another Kiwi. Perhaps they don't hire Kiwis. But when international guys come back out and they say they're wanting results. This isn't the Welsh side, and they haven't been the Welsh side that we've seen in yesteryear for a very, very long time. So there's got to be questions asked.
I wonder what their domestic competition, how that's going, because that's where they're pulling their pool of players from, and their domestic competition. We talked about the French domestic competition and how well that's going. Well, let's look at the Welsh domestic competition, and that's the opposite. So that's your player pool. So your player pool's not great. So yes, we can have a crack at Gats 10 in a row, and for Welsh, that's not acceptable. Yeah. But unfortunately, the playing pool he's got to choose from is not great at the moment.
You've got to be good enough to win games as a team, and ultimately players make coaches. You can't actually hide away from that. As great a coach as anyone is, if you don't have stock and talent and the ability, when you're coming up against quality opposition every week. And that's what Wales faces in the Six Nations every week. Yeah. And even Italy on their day are dangerous. And so Wales have fallen into that spot where Fiji have lifted their game. Argentina have lifted their game. Wales are now falling in that spot now where they don't know how to win, and all of their test matches are tough. They're not getting an easy ride anywhere. So for me, I think they've got to look deeper at what's happening in behind the scenes, what it is that they're producing in terms of talent. So when you get a class coach, which Warren Gatland has shown he can coach, but at the moment, I'm not sure he's got any answers. I just don't think he's got any kettle. I do know this, that both of those unions, England and Wales, they're not in a great position financially. They're massively under pressure. They're in no position to sack these guys, because who are they going to hire? And where's the money going to come from? So I think they're under serious pressure, particularly Wales, and what they do, I don't know.
Who is the best team in the North right now? Who is the best performing team in the North?
France.
It is France over France. Ireland for you?
Yeah,
why
France.
Is that?
Oh, look at what they produced in the last 2 weeks. Outstanding. Like, you've got to remember, well, they produced against, yes, an under-strength Japan side, 100%, they were great. You've got to remember, they were under the pump for a lot of the game today, but what's the sign of a quality side? A side that gets dominated, and the All Blacks dominated them, they still won.
Yeah, and
Still won.
And DuPont went to
10.
10. Jelly Bear didn't even want to
wanna
feature.
play.
And so that is a quality side.
No Pinot as well on the wing, who's been world class, mind you. They had some speed out there on the edges
oh,
today.
and
But what was crazy? No Intermac as well. I mean, the fact I knew the moment someone decided they didn't want to play, we're in trouble. The fact there was a little bit of friction around, and they'd find a way.
And it was okay for the.
It was. That's fine. There you go.
You don't
Go
have
play
to
some club rugby, and when you want to come back, no problem.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you deal with an issue. It's like the next man up, and okay, we'll go 6-2 split, and we'll just ask our best player, one of the best in the world, can you just cover first 5 for us? No problem at all. And you almost forgot that he was sort of driving the play and running that team. And so for me, I think I agree with you. I believe where they are compared to where Ireland are after Jonathan Sexton, yeah. I think France are the team for me that they're going to be the toughest to beat going
Six
forward.
Nations is going to be interesting because even for England, I've seen a different style of play that England have actually produced. They've gone away from their traditional sort of style. Do they keep going with that in the Six Nations? Ireland, on the other case, they've kind of, almost hit a little bit of a speed bump there with consistency in what they've sort of produced. How is that in terms of motivation leading into Six Nations? This is going to be a good Six Nations.
I just want to... It's critical, and critical for rugby. France, I plead with you, send your best team next year to New Zealand for 3 test matches against the All Blacks. There's been things thrown around about, they might send a second 15 to come down. If they do that, they're doing the game a disservice, Batesy, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. 100% they are. Like, look at the atmosphere, the spectacle that was put on today. It's only fair also to the fans in New Zealand that they get to experience that spectacle, you know what I mean? So we've seen our best team there, they need to do the same thing.
And if they want to go on and win Rugby World Cups, do what Ireland did. Try and learn from the experience, come down to New Zealand and bring your best team and see whether or not you can create history again. Because France have done it before.
Yeah.
They did it in 1994, and I think it was good for their rugby. I plead for everybody in terms of a tour, how great a 3 weeks that would be.
You don't mind it when the All Blacks send a second string team to Japan or third string?
Different, because
why is it different?
Because it's not a top tier competition. It's not tier like the top teams playing against the top teams. This is the ultimate challenge. Like I said, there's 5 teams right now who are there that they'll learn from those experiences. Look, we have no problems and issues with Japan, and usually we've got enough test players in there that are good enough to give it its credibility.
There's a reason why they've come out saying they are doing it, because they want to build depth between Rugby World Cup mills.
Yeah, well, it's their way of being able to say, hey, this is our plan, and you're seeing it. I don't think they don't mind, being able to go, hey, we don't care about what anyone else says. You've seen that, you've seen it in the way, Jelly Bear, they've got their own sort of... So, in other words, whilst we plead, they'll do it their own way.
Exactly.
But,
We're not listening,
man,
let's be honest.
what a series. What a series.
It's going to be an incredible series, 3-match series in July next year. But hold on a minute, can we just touch on Jelly Bear for just one moment? Matthew, who chose not to play against the All Blacks on the weekend because he didn't want to come off the bench. How ridiculous is this? Come on, you got to say it.
Oh,
Would you have ever said, nah, sorry, I'm not playing this week. Might go back.
I sat on the bench for the All Blacks and they never put the reserves on. And JK wasn't going down injured, was he? I think he was limping in one game and he just, nah, you're not getting on the field, son. No, it's absurd. It's absolutely
ridiculous.
Absurd. I mean, but it's the French, like you said,
So it's just okay. It's just
they
acceptable.
accept it as well. It's acceptable to them. Can you imagine that here in New Zealand? What's that?
Have you accepted it? Jelly Bear?
Hey, oui. Accept it, man. That's yes, isn't it?
OK, we will move on. And this is something to get Sir John Kirwan fired up over in France. Someone's going to have to take its place today, though. Referees. Are there too many officials, and is it ruining the international game? This is how many? There are 5. Can someone explain what the 5 referees do, and is it too many voices?
I didn't even realise there was 5.
I didn't realise
there's the extra TMO. No, the extra TMO's just come in.
I didn't realise.
All of a sudden, there's no doubt today the fact that there's nothing more frustrating when a whistle blows and then they go back for something that you don't know what's happened. And so people in the stands, people at home, you might not see a replay, you're not sure, all of a sudden you're hearing neck roll, you're hearing all these sorts of things, and you're going, no one's seen those. But probably what I don't like about this is the fact that it's undermining the referee on the field. Yeah. Because it's like, well, you've missed that, you've missed that. The more eyes you put on anything, in any walk of life, the more you see, Batesy.
And I thought that the role of the people upstairs were looking for foul play and tries, but at the moment it seems that everything's on the cards because we've got escort, we've got blocking, so you know what I mean? We could just have the referees sitting in the stand.
It's knock-ons, forward passes. It is every part of the game, Mills.
Yeah.
And when you start looking in depth to a game, which is so complex as rugby, I mean, it's absurd. Like, even today, there was a couple of neck rolls, for example, and not just our game, but in the South African game. And you're sitting to yourself, where does the contact and impact? And you're looking at a collision here. It's off to Tuangafasi, and if you look at him, he actually doesn't twist in any way, shape, or form. The momentum actually comes from the secondary cleaner, which is Cody Taylor, I think, is it? Who's driving out. This is Maro Itoje. You look at this. There he is. He's on Malcolm Marx. He's on his back. Look where he's actually hugging him. He's there on top of him. And then there's another. You're sitting there going, he's just driving through. For me, these just, it's play on. These are situations you go, if I look at another breakdown, Bates, you'll find another one. That's the problem. You go to another breakdown. Oh, I see that as well.
And that's where I think. I think if you, especially the offer one, I reckon you could go through and break down the game, and I reckon you could find 20 of those. So if you're going to get one, you've got to get all 20. Otherwise, it's not fair. So I reckon there's 20 of these in the game.
And what frustrates me is that the illegal positioning of the player that's been contacted initially. So he's gone off his feet, off his body weight, got himself in a position which is illegal anyway, and then all of a sudden it's the All Blacks that get punished for it. I just think, for me, there's just far too much involvement. I'm just grateful that SANZAR, that Super Rugby, that our NPC are operating in a different set of rules, that we have gone away from World Rugby and what they're trying to do.
That's the problem, though, isn't it?
But it's not the problem for us, because I think we're going to ultimately, we're going to get a more understandable, a more acceptable product, which people are going to enjoy more. Because what I'm seeing from the Northern Hemisphere too often, I mean, at the moment, we've seen the 20-minute red card by World Rugby. They've decided we need more information. Yeah. There was 2 Rugby World Cup finals, the women's and men's, both were down to 14 on 15. Critical games and the biggest moments in front of the biggest audiences.
Thousands of dollars getting there. I totally agree, but I still think that is the problem. When you've got 2 different hemispheres squabbling over 2 different rules. And so is this new chairman, that's just been announced in Australia, is that going to favour our way? I don't think we're going to get any sort of moral, high ground in terms of anywhere we're getting with this. There's too many complexities in terms of the rules. Let me even look at that. My issue with that is the fact that the TMOs are coming in crucial moments. The game, both games are in the balance. And it's almost like, actually, let's take it off the referee's hands and we'll make the decision up here. They have got the luxury of time, and those decisions aren't made on hey, let's give it a little bit of time, let's have another look. They're made in the spirit of the moment, straight away.
But see, we've all chased kicks in games, right? I'm sure you have. A kick-off or 2, you've got yourself on the front line. But this shepherding, escorting, basically what's happened now is if I'm not going to get there and contest, what I'll do is I'll run into the nearest opposition player. Yeah. And that's what happened twice ago. Just this, there was no problem there. This one here annoys me because the line of where the ball is landing is nowhere near the line of where the English guy's running. Yeah. So he's running into players in the back of them, and immediately it was like, we've made a bit of attention on this, we're going to put it under pressure. For me, we're going to give a penalty.
The most simplistic way to deal with escort is say, anytime a ball's kicked in the air, everyone must stand still. That's the only way to deal with it, because where are they supposed to go? Where are you supposed to actually go when you're retrieving? I mean, that's the most simplistic way to deal with escorting, As soon as it goes up in the air, I'm just going to stand here because I can't do anything else, otherwise I'll get penalised.
I think what we're probably saying in the crux of it is there's too many cooks in the kitchen, you know what I mean? There's so many people there making a decision. So on one stage, we're trying to say, hey, let's get these scrums sped up. We need these guys doing things fast. And then another way, we're going, okay, hold on, I'm going to nitpick and foul play's different. 100% come back for foul play, 100%. But then we're nitpicking this and this and this, and we're slowing the game down. You know what I mean? Like, that try South Africa scored today was a forward pass. That was a wonderful try. And then we take the joy out of it for the next 3 minutes by over-analysing it. You know what I mean? Here it is here.
It's called momentum. Like, that pass there, look at this. To me, that's not a forward pass. Yes, where he passed it to him when he caught, but that's called momentum in rugby. You see these passes all the time. He hasn't thrown it forward. That's absurd. Absolutely absurd. In fact, because all of a sudden you start going for everything. The chasing the kick one frustrates me because we talked about trying to protect the guy who's receiving the ball, right? So now we're opening it back up, right? We're opening it back up to the point we just want 2 people jumping as high as they can, colliding in the air. We're going to get people landing on their head again, which is something we're trying to avoid. So seriously.
Well, hey, we're going to go back to the contest, making sure it's straight in the old
scrums
now, because we're seeing they're pretty crooked at the moment, mate.
Yeah. Well,
crooked and slow. But look, that is an issue for another day. You talk about there being too many cooks in the kitchen. So what would you do? Do you just strip it back to good old-fashioned club rugby, one referee, leave it at that?
What you do is the people upstairs, they adjudicate on foul play. That's what it is. And touch and goals. If the ball is grounded or not grounded, or if it's touch and goal. And they're their two roles in the game. Foul play and tries.
And that's what's been happening in New Zealand through Super Rugby and through NPC, and you've heard less and less of them.
Yeah.
And making quick decisions as a result of, because they're only looking at very specific areas of the game, not getting carried away and trying to stop the flow of the game. You know, I know test matches are important and they're a real contest, but they are the point where they still have to be when I say entertainment, they have to be understandable as games, so that people at home in the stands, they've got a clear idea of what's happening.
And I want to make sure that I'm clear in that I'm not talking about foul play, but if you wanted to, you could find something in just about every play, you know what I mean? Just let the game go. Let the people upstairs adjudicate on two things. Let's get a little flow into what we're doing, you know?
Stop nitpicking.
Here's an offender right there, mate. He could do anything at any ruck. That's why I have
he's telling us that
he's coaching that as well.
And he got away with it.
Yeah, well.
For the most part. And that was your job. Well, brilliant, Bates. So you've got an idea as well. When we come back, we talk about what to do with Sam Cane and what is potentially his last ever test for the All Blacks. And Batesy's got an idea. Welcome back to the breakdown. Well, the All Blacks finished the season, their 14th and final test of the year in Turin, the home of Juventus. An absolutely incredible stadium. I'm not sure if any of you have played there, but you've all played in Italy. Rome, haven't you? Wasn't built in a day.
No.
How was it, Batesy? You made your debut there for the All Blacks.
I went to the Colosseum. I was pretty pumped about that, to be honest with you. I absolutely loved it. I think the rugby was all right too, but I loved the city. I really did.
Love Rome.
I just enjoy the history. I think it was. I enjoy the history of places like that and being there, and I thought it was a great place to be.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad place to actually.
Did you finish your tour there? Last game?
I think it was our first game. Actually, it was the first. That was 2004, right? And it was a good start to the tour. But fantastic place to stay. The people are awesome. And also, I had a chance to play in Milan as well. That was incredible as well. They were right behind. I mean, you see the haka in Paris, but they'll get behind that too in Italy.
How big is rugby in Italy compared to football, considering they're playing at the home of Juventus this weekend?
It's not as big as football. But the haka is, and that's the All Black brand is big in Italy. So they'll get there is rugby there, and they play a lot of. They're also in the competitions there, but they're passionate. They're a passionate crowd, passionate supporters.
Yeah, it's a great atmosphere. They have great respect for the game, understanding of the game. You know, I think they relish the opportunity to play against the All Blacks. I think it's been an important part of the tour. I was there the last time I think we finished a tour with it, and it's outstanding. Like, it really is. To finish this game's in Turin, but we finished it in Rome a couple of years ago, and as a broadcast team, it's an amazing city. I mean, it's amazing, an amazing city, and we're in Bologna, I think, for this game. Another try assist there, boys. Just offload, you know. Just keep dishing them out. Oh, hold on. What? Surely we were up, because. Oh no, throw it away. Did I walk past after that? But look, I mean, I think I think it's. Fitzy out in the wing again. Was it? What a surprise! Yeah. Look, I mean, it was special. It was special, you know. Oh, sorry about that. There was a little poach. But look, I think this will be an important way to finish the series for the All Blacks.
How are the All Blacks feeling going into this test, Mills? At the end of a very long season, Super Rugby, some players went back into NPC, 14 test matches. Are you exhausted when you get to this point? Are you ready to just go home?
There is those thoughts, and that's probably the toughest part on tour. You start thinking that probably middle of the way through that it's getting tough, and the important part is that, you know, when you're around guys, the same guys for 4 or 5 weeks, that you've got to get yourself back up. Yes, okay. If they make, changes, wholesale changes, it's really important the guys that aren't playing, they get them up for this last test, because this is a really important, to make sure they come away with a decent win to then go, into the break. Basically.
And also those guys they inject in, let's inject a little bit of excitement about what they do. They should be excited. So, there's that balance as well. So the new guys that come in, don't just come in and be passengers, actually put your youthful exuberance on the team, because that's infectious.
You can't scrape home in this game. You can't scrape home if you're the All Blacks. You need to have a good, solid... A great performance would be awesome. A good performance would be fantastic. There were 2 squads that played against Fiji and Japan this year. Majority of those guys are going to get the responsibility. I love the fact.
Do you think? How many changes are we talking?
I think there should be a significant number. I mean, we've played 3 massive test matches in a row. We really have. And we have guys on the sidelines who are ready to go, who have got experience we can bring into the fold, and some other players who have, when they had the opportunity, they've put their hand up. So there are some guys I'd like to see keep going. But the important question is Sam Cane one of them?
Well, here we go, Batesy. This is your time. What do you do with Sam Cane if he is fit and available, knowing that he is going off to Japan next year?
Yeah. I just said in the green room before, I'd give him the opportunity. If I was Razor Robinson, I'd go and ask Sam Cane what he wants to do. I think he's earned that as the All Black captain for many years, a Centurion, and see how he wants to finish his career. Does he want his last game to be a win against Ireland? Does he want his last game to be with some youth against Italy? And maybe that's a funny way to look at it, but I think he's deserved it, and he gets to choose what he does.
Yeah, one thing for sure, if he does get asked that question, he's not going to get a jelly beer. That's for sure. He's not going to say, "Oh no." I think he will. I think he does deserve to go out there. And you've got to remember, we've got TJ Pettinato there as well. I mean, we've got some experience. Even guys we've spoken about. Ethan de Groot points to prove. So plenty of opportunities to make those big changes. But also, I think we're pretty solid as well with the guys we do put in. A lot of guys there have played 3 hard test matches in a row, and that's been a big year.
Are any debuts handed out next week? I'll give you some names for some players that are in this environment that have been in there for the last few weeks, some a little bit longer than that. Christian Leo Willie and Duplessis Kirifi, loose forward covers. We're assuming that we've probably lost Sammy Penifina for next week. Whether or not Sam Cane is available, that's another thing as well. But potentially one of those 2. What about an AJ Lamb or a Shea Fihaki? Shea Fihaki's been in that environment a whole lot longer. He came in and covered for Geordie Barrett in New Zealand. Are there any new caps for the All Blacks next week, Jeff?
Is Fabian Holland with them? Fabian
Holland is another one.
If he's with them, and do they continue with the 3 locks that they've operated with over the last little wee while? Or, I'd like to see Scott Barrett captain the team in the last test match of the year again, and it's whether or not they need Patrick Tuipulotu to play another game. But he's been very, very good. I'd like to see him start to see what that might do. Tupou Vai's had a big workload, so maybe he deserves a little bit of break. Does that open it up for Fabian Holland? Maybe one. We might see one sneak in there.
You've got to remember, I know he's not a debutant, but Josh Lord's also over there as well.
Yep.
So he might be next cab off the rank. I think one of those loose forwards plays, though, because I don't think there's anyone else.
Is it just a toss of the coin?
Well,
there's
the 3. There's the 3 that played today, and then you throw in Sam Cane, so they could be the 4.
Oh, yes, they could be. Yes, you are right. I think they'll rest one of them. I think they might rest Artie.
So who gets a debut for the All Blacks? Are you looking at someone that has got a long-term future in the All Blacks, or just someone for the here and now?
Maybe Christian, I think. Maybe you look at what he is. You look at, we've already got a couple of 7s on the field if you've got Lakai and also Sam Cane, so maybe Christian gets a nod.
Yeah, you agree?
It's a possibility, absolutely. I think TJ will be involved in this test match.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling whether it's off the bench or starting, I think they will involve him in this one, and I can understand that, absolutely. Yeah,
on the same, I think maybe one debutant, but I'd like to see the next guys, the cab off the ranks, go Josh Lords, Ruben Loves, possibly, also start as well.
Stephen Perifeta.
It's a chance now for maybe even to be able to steal a ship. Do you put him in at 10? Possibly. I mean, I'd like to see
Ruben
those
Love
guys.
in at 10 or Perifeta?
Perifeta. I think even given an opportunity for those guys to go out there and gain more experience in the black jersey as opposed to putting more debutants out there.
Okay, some predictions for the last round of the autumn series. France against Argentina. That's the biggest test of the weekend, I'd say.
France.
Yep.
Hard to go past France. Yeah.
France, but I think the biggest game is Scotland-Australia, because if Australia beat Wales, the Grand Slam's still on.
Yeah.
And so when they play Scotland, I mean, imagine the turnaround for Australia. Who? I've got Australia.
Aussie.
Yep. They'll win tomorrow and they'll win again.
Good.
Massive turnaround.
I like the confidence. Seem you're confident. I'm confident. I'm going there as well.
You're jumping on that one too, Melzy?
I'm jumping on the back of that.
Be your own man, come on.
Ireland, Fiji, is that one-way traffic?
I think so. Although Fiji have got a lot better. But I think Ireland will do the job.
Wales, South Africa. Doesn't get easier for Wales. Does not get any easier for Wales, does it?
South Africa.
South Africa.
And Italy, New Zealand. You've said it. It has to be a good win
It has
for
to
the
be a
All
good
Blacks
win.
to end the year.
Yep, it has to be a strong finish.
It can't be a one-pointer.
It shouldn't be a one-pointer.
Or a close finish at the end. Thank you so much for joining us today. Millsy's last show. We're not sure how he slipped that one past the keeper. Bulavanaka, enjoy Fiji next week. We will be back. We'll see you on the breakdown for the last show next week. Ka kite.
A pivotal match in Pool A as New Zealand takes on Italy in Lyon.
Around the ground, Brazil away for Savia. The skipper's in. Try number 4. Away goes to Coles. Spolls in at the corner, Dave Coles. And the All Blacks score again. Who's got the speed? The bounce. Oh, that's clever. Jordan scores. And off one, another one for Cole. And the All Blacks have been emphatic and have come away with a win 96 points to 17.